The internet loved reacting to the outburst, but psychology asks a different question. What happened before the outburst?
Greetings. My name is Jimmy Morris. I'm a local attorney here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I have the distinct pleasure and honor of representing the Yarborough family. As some of you may know, there was an incident at Arthur's Steakhouse in which my clients may have been portrayed as being aggressive and disruptive. There's a thing going on in our upside down world called racial baiting or microaggression. A lot of times, what happens is minority groups are antagonized prior to the camera coming on, and then once they're antagonized and angry, people start recording.
Now, let me say this clearly before I continue, okay? I do not know the full story involving the Yarborough family, and none of us truly do at this point. There's an active investigation happening, and I'm not here to decide guilt or innocence, okay? But from a behavioral and workplace psychology standpoint, well, this is a perfect situation because it highlights something we see every single day in workplaces, leadership spaces, schools, relationships, and even online, especially online culture. People often judge the reaction while completely ignoring the buildup. And that is dangerous. Because by the time someone reacts emotionally, the audience usually missed the 47 moments that happened before the camera started rolling, okay? And the tension, I'm talking about the tension, the dismissal, the confusion, the frustration, the feeling of not being heard, the escalation. Instead, people isolate one emotional moment and treat that as the entire story. And workplaces do this all the time. They document the employee finally snapping in the meeting, right? But not the months of pressure, humiliation, mixed messaging, exclusion, or tension that happened beforehand. And psychologically, there's a reason this happens. People naturally attach themselves to whichever side appears calmer in the clip. That's called perception bias. Write that down. Because you see, we also tend to confuse someone's emotional reaction with the origin of the conflict itself. But reaction and origin are not always the same thing. Now, again, I'm not speaking on who was right or wrong in this specific situation. Hear me out. I'm speaking on a larger behavioral pattern we see in society over and over again. Partial footage shaping public opinion before context is understood. And once the internet creates a narrative, baby, people start responding to the narrative, not necessarily the truth. Sometimes what looks like overreaction is actually the final stage of prolonged frustration, dismissal, pressure, or emotional overload. That doesn't automatically make every reaction right. I understand that. But it does remind us that human behavior rarely exists in isolation. Okay? Reactions, emotions, and behaviors are usually connected to something larger happening around them, not just a single moment we witness. In other words, human behavior is often influenced by so many different factors like stress, environment, repeated experiences, power dynamics, communication patterns, feeling ignored, emotional buildup, past interactions, pressure, or unresolved conflict. So when someone reacts strongly, psychology encourages us to ask, what factors contributed to this behavior? Not to excuse harmful behavior, okay? Not to remove accountability, but to understand that behavior usually has context. And if we really care about emotional intelligence, communication, and healthy environments, okay, then we have to stop asking only what did they do, okay? And start asking what happened before this. Because a reaction without context becomes entertainment. But context turns into understanding. I'm just saying. Just bringing awareness. Have a great day.